Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to Real Estate Facts. In today's episode, you'll learn how to protect your earnest money deposit. Hi, my name is Andrew Finney. Please consider me your real estate geek. I am always here to help. My contact information is in the show more description below and always at the end of each video. So let's go ahead and get into it. So you've worked hard to find that right home. You've been working with your buyer agent for, probably a few weeks or so to find that right home for you. You got your loan pre-approval taken care of. You've begun the steps into buying your new home and you're doing everything right. So what happens when you make the earnest money deposit and showing the seller good faith that you're serious about completing the purchase of that property? And sometimes that earnest money deposit is actually anywhere between 1% on up to 10% of a sales price of a home. Just for an instance, before we get into the ways to protect that hard-earned money of yours, 1% of a $400,000 home is $4,000. 3% is $12,000. So you need to be prepared for that. And in some cases, depending on the purchase price, it can go even higher as far as being requested from the seller. The higher the property, the more expensive the property, normally the more money they want to see put up front on that property. So just keep that in mind as we go along these steps of how to protect your hard-earned money when you make that earnest money deposit. It's really going to come down to step number one with understanding what your buyer due diligence period is about. Your buyer due diligence is the time to order a home inspection, it's time to order a home appraisal, it's the time to get the seller's property disclosure, and it's time to review all of those documents. If it's in an HOA community, ideally you want to be able to get a copy of those CCNRs for that HOA within that time frame or as quickly thereafter. So here's a few different ways that you can do it. You can do it with a home inspection. Always leave your home inspection contingency in place. You never know what you're going to get, and you want to make sure you don't get a lemon in your new home. So make sure you leave that home inspection contingency in your contract so that if something doesn't mash out after the home inspection and the seller's not willing to make certain improvements to the property or certain repairs to the property that would make you more comfortable with the purchase, and leave the cosmetic ones, all right? Here's your tip. Leave the cosmetic ones at the door. If it's simply paint, carpet, what have you, it's not really worth haggling over. But if it's an issue with like putting water heater straps around the water heater, an issue with the HVAC system, an issue with the house not cooling, the house not heating, different plumbing, electrical, stuff like that, yes, definitely you want to ask to get that kind of stuff fixed. Those are important criteria. And if for some reason something doesn't work out and you have that home inspection contingency in place within your buyer due diligence, you'll be able to back out of the contract and get your earnest money deposit back. So the second thing that you want to be looking at is always get everything in writing, and that does include making sure that you have a loan contingency in place. Let's say that, and this has happened, this is real world stuff, so and I've actually seen this happen, and it's very unfortunate when it does, but with a loan contingency, okay, you get into multiple bid situation, you're getting super excited, you're trying to win the bid, your singular focus is on getting that home for you, your family, and whoever else is going to be there with you, or maybe just yourself, but you're getting all focused on that property, doing whatever it takes. You're like, yeah, I'll drop the loan contingency, I'll drop the home inspection contingency, heck, I'll drop all contingencies. Big problems with that. If you drop that loan contingency, you're going to be on the hook for that house whether you can afford it or not. And even though you might be able to afford it today, God forbid you lose your job. Would you be able to afford it if you lost your job? Something to consider. That's why you want to have a loan contingency protection in there, because unfortunately, millions of people, well, fortunately, millions of people every year buy and sell homes, but unfortunately, there are thousands of people every year that go into a contract wishing to buy a home and doing everything right, and then they just lose their job. Or, that maybe they had a new position come up or something like that. There was a transfer of jobs, and it's going to take maybe 1 or 2 months before they get their new job, and maybe they're on unemployment during that time. You've lost your job effectively from a lender's point of view, and you're not going to be qualified for that loan. Being able to back out on that loan contingency is going to save your hard-earned earnest money deposit. Again, the money that you earn, you will be able to get back from your earnest money deposit if you're backing out on a loan contingency. The other one that you want to leave in place is an appraisal contingency, because let's say the house is valued at $400,000, or let's say that the list price of the house is $400,000, okay? And the appraisal comes back at $390,000. And if you waive that appraisal contingency, you're just agreed up front to the seller, say, hey, appraisal came back at $390,000, but I'm okay with giving you another $10,000 above the appraised value That's what you're doing if you remove an appraisal contingency. Whereas having an appraisal contingency in place means that there's a renegotiation that needs to take place between you and your buyer agent with the listing agent and the seller to try to ideally get the seller reduced down to the appraised value, or to either cut it in half and you come up 5, they go down 5, whatever have you, whatever the circumstances are that would make sense. But at least having that appraisal contingency in place means that you could back out and again not lose your earnest money deposit. So these are ways that you could do that. And the last one that you want to consider is actually your Sellersburg property disclosure report. It's always a really fascinating thing that whenever sellers are disclosing to the best of their knowledge what may or may not be wrong with their property since the time that they've owned it. If there's issues with the roof, there's issues with water damage, there's issue with mold or anything like that since the time they've owned that property, it absolutely needs to be disclosed in the Sellersburg property disclosure report. And if you're a seller watching this right now, it's very important for you to understand: disclose, disclose, disclose. Even if you don't want to disclose, disclose. Because the more that you disclose, the more that can keep you out of hot water with potential litigation after the closing, with like statute of limitations, something being around 5 years, I believe right now, that a seller could come back on you, or excuse me, a buyer could come back on you and sue you as a seller if something really got stupid and with the house and it should have been disclosed and wasn't. So you don't want to be in that position. And I'm not a real estate attorney or anything, but if you have questions about that, specific instances of how that works, definitely contact a real estate attorney. The idea behind these videos and the reason that I make these is to better help you and better educate you and better serve you as a trusted real estate advisor, and ensuring that everybody has a better understanding of the real estate process and what they'll be looking for. So ideally nobody feels the need to sue anybody, and ideally everybody has a much better understanding of how this whole process called real estate works, because it is the biggest asset in most of our lives, and it's what we call home. And when it comes to our home, we want to do what's best for us and best for our family and each other. So, I really appreciate you watching this video today. If you have some questions about this video, I'm going to put my contact information up. Feel free to reach out to me, even if you just want to say hi. I always enjoy hearing from you. Anyhow, if you've learned something new from this video, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Number 1, please subscribe to this channel. Number 2, please like this video. And number 3, please share this video around with someone that you know is going to be able to help. Thank you so much for watching today, and between now and the next time we see you with Real Estate Facts next week, I'm wishing you and your family all the love, wealth, peace, and happiness in the world. Thank you so much for watching today. Enjoy a fantastic week.